Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Take It to the Hizzy Fantasy Football TITTH number 30. I'm your host, Justin Bruni. This is my co-host, Nick Davis.
What's up, guys?
We got a good slew of topics on the board for today. Before we get to those, we're going to start off with some recent news. We discussed the Jamal Adams trade on our last episode. Jamal Adams going over to the Seahawks. Now this week, with the assumed presence of Jamal Adams, we're seeing the contract talks heat up for George Kittle and the San Francisco 49ers. Sounds like they're not on the same page.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're on the same page. I think it's mostly because Kittle sees himself more as more than a tight end on the offense, and they use him more than a tight end, which they're trying to pay him as. It's one of those things like on the defensive side, you always see the linebackers and defensive ends want to be classified as someone else, another position, to get that extra money. It's just one of those situations where we might just see Kittle walk, but we're also hearing about other people being looked at by the 49ers, right?
Yeah, so Jordan Reed, Delaney Walker, some names that I've heard in recent days. I don't necessarily think that if they sign one of those guys, it necessarily means it's the end of, Kittle and San Francisco. I just think that they're gearing up, if they...
Stopgap.
Yeah, exactly. And if they are going to actually use Kittle as more of a wide receiver, they're going to need to get somebody in there that can also catch and block on the offensive line, right? Jordan Reed, Delaney Walker, two guys that have been able to do that in the past.
Yeah, I love Jordan Reed. Watched him a couple years for when he played in Washington.
When he played.
Yeah, when he played, that was the main issue, is that he was always hurt. Not always hurt. It was just like...
He's always hurt.
He would get hurt after having a good season, and lose half of his season, and it was just very frustrating. I remember when he actually... I think it was he tore his AC joint in his shoulder, and he scored the game-winning touchdown against the Dallas Cowboys, and he reached over his head to catch the game-winning ball. It was incredible. It was Iron Man. I love watching him play. He's legit on the field. He will get the ball. Jimmy G will have a nice little target, but that's the thing, is that he needs to get on the field.
And stay on the field, yeah.
And stay on the field.
Yeah.
And with how physical the game is now, I think the last injury he had was a concussion. So, he already has that issue. I would love to see him in 49ers uniform to see him catch passes, but it's going to be hard to see him get on the field.
I think it's a good situation for any wide receiver or tight end to go into. There's not many mouths to feed right now for the 49ers. So you have Deebo Samuel getting hurt. Yeah, I think that highlights... Yeah, no, it really is. Someone that I was high on coming into this year. They are talking about him missing, several weeks to start the season. But at the same time, that kind of heightens up, the production for George Kittle, or the potential production for George Kittle, and it will give him the opportunity to highlight his value at the potential wide receiver position. Not that he actually plays wide receiver, right, guys? But he wants that wide receiver money. That's why they are not on the same page with these contract talks. So a situation, we're going to be following going into the start of the season. I think we're both, high on George Kittle.
Absolutely.
Tight end too. A couple of changes in Kansas City, and you could really put Kittle up to number one. Really fast. He just doesn't have as much competition as Kelsey does for targets. I think it's just that he's
so much bigger than the other guys too. Physically in the chest and stuff, he's just an easy target. There's a lot of guys on the team that, Ayuk, he does have arms that literally almost go down to his knees. It's incredible. He'll have a huge catch radius, like Larry Fitzgerald.
But he's the number one right now on this team. With Deebo Samuel hurt, no?
Yeah. He's definitely going to get some runs. We'll definitely probably mention him later, but Kittle's a huge target. I love him, and with Deebo Samuel going down, he's definitely going to get at least the ball a little bit more for sure.
Yeah, I hope they settle out those contract talks and get him his payday before the start of the year. I think that would only be right. Huge reason why they went to the playoffs last year, or why they were able to have success all year, make a deep run in the playoffs. Obviously, Mostert having some issues there too. He was a big part of why they went to the Super Bowl. Garoppolo had 10 passing attempts or less in that NFC North NFC Championship game. Yeah, I mean, is what it is. But yeah, Niners, take care of your guys, man. We're tired of hearing about all these issues you're having over there, and we want all of our fantasy players to be healthy and productive going into the start of their year. So help us out, will you? Jeez. All right, so moving into our topics for today. Starting off the top, we're going to talk some Teddy Bridgewater. Super valuable this year in 2 quarterback leagues. In my opinion, he's going to be a league winner. In the last mock draft we did, he was drafted in the 13th round of a 2 quarterback league as your super flex, right behind Sam Darnold, right ahead of Tyrod Taylor. What do you think about Bridgewater this year?
I mean, the average draft position in these mock drafts, like where he's going and who's behind him and in front of him, it's like, dude, I think you should put a little bit more respect on his name. I mean, Sam Darnold, he's still a developing player. Teddy Bridgewater,
no thanks. Yeah, no thanks to Sam Darnold. Hard pass.
And then Tyrod Taylor just throws turkeys in the air, and it's hard to watch the ball come out of his hand.
Absolutely, and touching on Tyrod Taylor, everyone, week 1 starter. Is he going to be the week 4 starter?
No.
The week 5 starter?
No.
Sorry. I mean, really though. I mean, how long can Tyrod Taylor last? I don't see it lasting more than 3 games. That's the max for me. It's a similar situation in my opinion to Cleveland. He's just on the field until he's not allowed to be on the field anymore.
Yeah.
Once you make enough mistakes, you're gone. It's a super short leash. I think the other like really short leash I see in the league is like with the Bears, like Foles and Mitch this situation. With this, I think Herbert's going to be in there really quick, guys. So yeah, Taylor right after him, no question, just completely disrespectful, like you said.
Yeah, and Teddy Bridgewater signed in Carolina to be the man, and he showed up in Minnesota before his knee injury. That he was a dude that can throw the ball. And he's not going to be the mobile quarterback that everybody expects from that. So he's just going to be that pocket quarterback that's just going to be chucking the ball. Matt Rule had if Baylor played 16 games, they would have had a 4,000-yard passer with their average per game, which is great because that high-flying offense in the Big 12 is coming over to Carolina, and they're just going to make Christian McCaffrey and Teddy Bridgewater, their stats are just going to pop off the stat chart. So pay attention to the Carolina Panthers for sure.
No, absolutely. Teddy Bridgewater, if he had played a full 16 games last season, he would have been looking at about 3,700 yards, based on his pace of play. Really excited about him this year. First year offensive coordinator Joe Brady is saying that, hey, we want to get the ball out into space. That's going to be our priority this year. And that's going to be a big factor in Bridgewater's success. Having the best pass catching running back in the league right next to you is going to be very, very helpful. CMC is going to increase his value tremendously. And then you have these, slashers in Moore and Samuel. And then you have Anderson opening up the secondary, speeding down the field. So I love everything that they've done. And they brought in Russell Okung as well in a trade with, was it the Chargers?
Yeah, I love the tackle trades, man. When another team acquires a tackle, it's just showing that they believe in whoever's the quarterback or whoever they're trying to use to carry their offense. Love the offensive line moves.
Well, yeah, he's going to cover Bridgewater's blind spot, and the offensive line was not a bright spot for the Panthers last year. I watched a lot of tape on Kyle Allen and kind of seeing the similarities between him and Bridgewater, and really the big difference is that Bridgewater is going to be a quarterback that can deal with that pressure off the line. 3-step drop and release. Allen, thinking a little too much.
4 seconds.
Yeah, overthinking, trying to run out of the pocket, trying to extend the play when he doesn't have the tangible skills to do so. Bridgewater does. He's a downhill runner. He's not going to run east and west on you. But when the pocket opens up, yeah, he'll take a good.
Yeah, he'll definitely step up.
He'll take 7 or 8 yards on you. But it's not a consistent trait of his, right? So
Drew Brees does the same thing. He just steps up in the pocket, or he just takes those extra yards.
Exactly. 3-step drop and releases all day. He's going to be hitting Curtis Samuel in space, who they're going to be looking to use a lot more as a gadget type of player, like we were talking about Deebo Samuel earlier. They're even talking about him taking snaps at running back, Curtis Samuel. So just more hype, or information, if you will, to throw some respect on the Panthers this year. I'm probably going to be moving up Curtis Samuel, hearing all this, hearing all the good things I'm hearing about him, the way that they're going to use him, the way that they're just going to set Bridgewater up for success. Someone that's being drafted in the 13th round in your 2 quarterback leagues, if you pounce on Jackson or Mahomes in the first round, this is a guy that you can sit on literally for many, many rounds and build up the rest of your team.
Yep.
Especially if you have multiple flex positions to fill in those leagues. There are some two quarterback leagues where it's just traditional 2 quarterbacks, 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end. They don't even use the flex. But if you're in one of those leagues where they have 2 flex spots in there too, you really need to stack up on talent. And that's why I'm saying he's a league winner this year, is because he's going to fall into your lap, be a potential starter for you. In single quarterback leagues, he's your backup. There's so many other arms that you can draft ahead of him. But if you take a flyer, let's say like you really wait and you on a quarterback and you only get like Ben Roethlisberger, right? Ben Roethlisberger, a little injury prone, hasn't had history of staying on the field in the past few years. Go grab yourself a Teddy Bridgewater. Hedge that pick essentially. I'm really comfortable with him this year. His ADP is 176. He's Fantasy Pros quarterback 26. He is my quarterback 27. I think I'm going to be putting a little bit more respect on his name on my next rankings update and bring him up a few spots. The only reason I have him at 27 is Cam Newton. He got plugged in, got picked up, got signed. So I plugged him into, I think, my top 12.
My last thoughts on Teddy Bridgewater is I do think the way that the offense is going to work is when they're saying that they want to get out into space, they want to use their weapons do all the work. So it's going to be a West Coast offense, dink and dunk. But Teddy Bridgewater does have Robbie Anderson going down the field at full speed to just chuck the ball and let him run. So that, constant 5-yard dinks, 5-yard dinks, 5-yard dinks. And then you got over the top, man, it's just going to have some open plays. So that means that there's going to be more receptions for CMC, more receptions and rushing yardage for Curtis Samuel. And then, the other receivers on the outside, they're going to get their looks, but they're also going to get the yardage because the offense believes that their weapons can do work in space. So just kind of letting you know, that's kind of how I see this offense working out.
And if all of you out there are so high on sorry, hit my mic a lot today. If you're all so high on DJ Moore, how can you not be high on Teddy Bridgewater? I hear every fantasy pundit, DJ Moore, he's my guy this year, he's my guy. There's so much love for him. If you love DJ Moore, go get yourself some Teddy Bridgewater as well. He's going to be just as successful. All right, so that's it for Teddy Bridge. Let's move on to some prop bets. We are talking Tom Brady and Gronk. You want to line up Gronk first, Nick?
Yeah, absolutely. So this article was written actually a week ago, but what I saw was that the line was set way too low. The line when I saw it was at 600 yards and a half for the year. We actually checked it today, and it dropped 50 yards. We think that might be due to the signing of who's that running back that was signed?
LaShawn
McCoy. Sorry,
maybe.
I don't really,
maybe. I don't know why they're dropping this number. It's crazy.
I don't really like Philly, so that's why I completely forgot his name, even though he played for the Chiefs. But whatever. But that is way too low. Okay, I'm smashing the over on this, man.
Take it to the Hizzy. 550, no way.
Yeah, it's even at 600. I was saying it's absurdly low. He's been blessed with basically playing with the same quarterback his entire career. That chemistry is not built overnight. So, they might be going into a new team, but Brady knows to look for Gronk down the field, which is going to pay dividends down the line. And there is a 1/3 chance that he won't break 600, but if you dig a little deeper,
he's getting it. He is getting this prop.
1 year was his rookie year, and 2 years were shortened by injury. And, if he plays at least 11 games, he's going to hit over 600. But right now it's 550, so we're just going to use that number basically. And the previous tight ends did not work as well as Gronk did. OJ and Brady, they were just not anywhere near the caliber of Gronkowski. But they are going to be used more as the tight ends of the offense. He's going to be used more as the big receiver. I just see that, and everybody's saying, "Oh, he lost 100 pounds, and he's not as big as he used to be." You don't have to be 280 to make 100 catches anymore. So they're going to line him up as a receiver, line him up as a tight end. They're just going to use him as a gadget.
800 receiving yards is 50 yards per game. What did they bring Gronkowski in for? Do you think that they signed Gronkowski to
run block?
Yeah, exactly. He's probably lost a good 100 pounds, right? Yeah. He's not going to be a run.
Carry that all.
He's not going to be a run blocker with his size where he's at now. He's building it back, All these guys are getting into more football shape. We're seeing it with all athletes actually as sports have returned, right? We're seeing these guys with different types of bodies than they're usually accustomed to. Gronk is going to be in that situation because he's been out of the league for a season or so. So I love the upside for Gronk. 800 yards is where I would put his prop because I think 50 yards a game is enough to make some people, question, their bets, right? What is it? The bet is at 600 or 650?
No, it's at 550.
What was it originally when you
600?
600 when you wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That breaks down to 37 and a half yards per game. What did they bring him there for? For 25 yards a game? For 30 yards a game? Do you think that's why they signed Gronkowski? Like, man, we really need to go out there and get a tight end that can get us that extra, quarter of 100 yards. Yeah, he's going to smash this prop. Anywhere you can find these numbers this low, whether it's at your own local sports book in whatever state you're in, any online book. I know it's at Sportsbook AG. You probably need to be trading in like Bitcoin to make some money there. But hey, this is a bet or a reason to get out of bed and go get yourself some Bitcoin shares because this shit will make you rich. I don't understand it. I don't know where these people or what they're thinking with a number this low. It's too much for me. Very disrespectful. I know there's some Scotty Miller hype, third wide receiver talk. I know that LaShawn McCoy got signed, but I don't know what these guys are smoking. I don't understand it. Smash this over.
The way I saw it last year was that Bruce Arians was just letting Jameis Winston just throw the ball. 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's 60 chances basically to score a touchdown, and he was just chucking the ball up. It's a little bit different of a quarterback, but...
A little bit
different. But, like last year, okay, this is a perfect example. O.J. Howard started 14 games and actually had 2 fewer receptions than his backup Cameron Brate. What? That doesn't make any sense. Honestly, they were feeding the ball to Chris Godwin and to Mike Evans, and that was the offense, really. Now the offense is definitely going to be way different than last year. Those opportunities where those 30 interceptions, that's kind of how I see it is like, man, like, what was their record last year? Like 8-8 or something like that?
Who, the Bucks?
Yeah. But anyway, like, he did 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions, and
7-9.
7-9. Okay, so if he takes down like 5 interceptions, but it's Tom Brady, so I'm going to say maybe like even 20 to 15 less interceptions. So that's just more opportunities for Gronk to get the ball. Those 15 extra opportunities are not going to stop drives. I mean, you could see sometimes where they were driving down the field and then Winston would just throw a touchdown or throw an interception and ruin the entire drive. That's not going to happen as much with Tom Brady. So you just got to think that there's going to be way more opportunities that were available than last year.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that, like, the last thing I want to say about Gronk in this prop, just his personality. Gronk is not coming back to play football to not record stats.
Yeah.
To not touch the ball. To have Godwin and Evans and even Brayton Howard, who are still there, to have more production than him. I mean, there's coming back to win a Super Bowl. He's on the right team to do it.
Yeah.
Like if you were not playing football and you were like, what team should I look at? Chiefs and Bucks, right?
Yeah.
Right now, the Chiefs and the Bucks. Those are the teams that you should be looking at. If you're looking for a job in the NFL. Shout out to Nadamik and Sue. Excuse me. Anybody looking for a job, these are the places that you should go. For Rob Gronkowski, he didn't show up there to not do anything. He's going to get used. He's going to kill this prop. That's
over button. That's it.
Smash. Grab it. All right, and that leads us into Tom. So from Gronk, we're going over to Tom. Tom's number, a little bit more practical, right? A little bit more realistic. You have to actually think about this one. 4,224 and a half yards at FanDuel. Over-under is both going for minus 112. I'm on the over here. I love all the weapons. Tom has hit this number plenty of times in the past in a run-heavy offense on a team where the Patriots don't have a ton of offensive talent. Last year his top 2 targets were Julian Edelman and James White, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
40%.
Exactly. Now he has Godwin. Now he has Evans, Howard, Brate, Gronk, Scotty Miller, a plethora of running backs, and now LaShawn McCoy, Ronald Jones, hashtag free Rojo. Keyshawn Vaughn still there. Dare Ogunbowale is still waiting to break out. Shout out Dare Ogunbowale. They have a ton of talent around him, right? I don't see why he can't hit this prop. Bruce Arians is a pass-first, pass-heavy, offensive-minded coach. I love all of the pieces that are in play here. Last year, Brady averaged 439 passing yards and 58 passing attempts in his past 3 seasons. If he stays on that pace, he's absolutely going to hit this number. Is there anything that you can think of that's going to not let him hit this number?
No.
Injury?
Yeah, injury.
That's
the only thing. Like I said, it's just going to be a dink and dunk offense. He's going to let the weapons do the work. Chris Godwin is an up-and-coming, elite, quick receiver that's going to definitely be the possession receiver like Edelman was.
Yep, absolutely.
And Mike Evans is going to be the deep threat. And then he's just got his very trusty sidekick in Rob Gronkowski going across the middle with a big target on his chest. And he also has 2 other tight ends that could go. I mean, I could see Brady or something going into fullback for maybe a strong or I formation just to get some more weapons on the field. There's just too many options, and he honestly hasn't had these many weapons since like Randy Moss.
Yeah, I mean that year when they had all those when they had all those weapons, he threw over 50 touchdowns.
Yeah,
52 touchdowns. I'm not saying he's going to do something like that this year, but 4,500 passing yards is very easily in reach for this old man, and I understand it. He's up there in age, but I've heard the same things over and over every year. It's the system. It's Belichick. It's the Patriots way. Like, stop it. Stop feeding yourself these just like I don't even know what type of storylines they're calling. They're just like these
truths.
Yeah, there's just these Fox ideas that lend you to believe one thing over the other. I really don't get it. The guy has all the talent in the world. If you watch any type of film on him, the way that he prepares himself for the games, like it's all there. Everything's there to go hit the over here. The offensive line wasn't great last year. They drafted Tristan Wirfs with the 13th pick in the first round.
Love that pick.
That's your guy, Dancing Bear. I don't see what's not to like about the Buccaneers. If Tom goes down in week 2 or week 3, that can happen on any prop that you're going to bet on. So that's it. That's the only thing I can see, preventing him from hitting this number.
You don't have to like him, but definitely respect him because he's one of the greatest quarterbacks that we've seen in our generation.
You're just stirring the pot.
I'm just being honest. Like I don't really like the dude, but when he's on the field, man, he still came back 28-3 against the Falcons at an older age. Like that was miracle.
No, whenever you doubt him, right? And it's kind of like the Michael Jordan effect. Whenever Michael Jordan had people doubting him, or he even suspected a thread of doubt in your mind or a shred of doubt in your mind about him, he was all over you, right? He wanted to go out and show the world, otherwise, right? Brady does the same thing. I think he does it this year. Makes that big statement, leaving the Patriots. Sets his legacy in stone in Tampa this year.
Yep, I see that happening too.
Yeah, absolutely. Take the over. Was it 42-44?
42-24.5.
42-24.5. Too low. Take it to Hizzy. Smash the over. All right, so we're going to close it out here with some sleeper wide receivers. You want to serve up your first couple guys?
Yeah, my guy on the West Coast that I like a lot is Hunter Renfrow, okay? This guy honestly looks like a scout. He's not going to overwhelm anybody. You wouldn't put him in front of the bus to walk out first to intimidate anybody, but
that would be the greatest person to first walk off the bus. He looks like the equipment manager.
Exactly. So, he definitely looks like he's lost on the field, but man, for some reason, he just has the chemistry with Derek Carr. One of the things that I noticed last year was he did play. He played in 13 games, only missing week 13, 14, and 15. Every game he played, he registered at least 1 catch, and then at least 3 targets. When Antonio Brown left, Tyrell Williams basically was the number 1. But
no question.
Yeah, when Tyrell went down in week 17, that game Renfrow put up 6 receptions on 9 targets for 102 yards and a touchdown.
And it made Waller the number 1 after that.
Waller became number 1, but you still need someone on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely see his catch percentage was, everybody talks about, Nelson Aguilar's coming to the team. I don't really care.
No, thank you.
His catch Renfrow's catch percentage is way higher than Aguilar's. So, what you're kind of seeing right now is you're starting to see quarterbacks starting to understand that you don't need to be elite speed or, you don't need to have top-end speed or elite quickness. You just need to be a good route runner. If you can get the ball and
you need to get to your spot.
Yeah,
you need to get to your spot.
Ruggs is going to be that guy on the downfield threat. That is no doubt in my mind. But Renfrow is going to definitely be the guy to move the chains and keep the drives going. I see that happening. For sure. What do you think about him?
Just echoes like Wes Welker, right? Like,
yeah,
like the look, the build, the receding hairline. He just looks like someone's dad out there.
Yeah.
Playing football. I'm all about him. You can get this guy for free at the back end of your drafts. There's zero downside for taking him or selecting him. You're talking, last pick, second to last pick, third to last pick. If you're playing with, defenses or kickers in your league, whatever it is, he's a guy that you're going to get for free. You're going to throw him on your bench. And if you start getting injuries or he just blows up his spot for the Raiders, then yeah, you're going to plug him in. So yeah, he's definitely a deep stash that I like. In like 20 round plus leagues, like he's going to go. Actually, he's not going to go in the first or the last several rounds. He's probably going to go, somewhere 16 to 19. So he's actually going to be of value in some of those leagues. So yeah, I'm all about him. Loved watching him play last year. Pretty entertaining on Hard Knocks. Got the personality. Has that. He doesn't have Southern draw, but he's Hunter Renfrow. He's a Southern gentleman.
Yeah, I mean, he's from Clemson. So. The one thing that people really try and throw at me when I'm talking about Renfrow and his future production this year, they always say Nelson Aguilar. He's coming onto the team.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not.
You can keep him.
I'm not interested. Little stat is his catch percentage is really subpar to Renfrow's. Aguilar had 4 games last year in Philly with a catch percentage at 49% or lower. Renfrow had only 1 game with under 30% catch percentage. That's where the line was. Like, I tried to find a line at 49. It was 30 that was actually the line. So it sounds misleading, but it's not. But I just see Renfrow being the guy that's moving the chains. Like, Ruggs is going to be the guy that's going to take the top over the defense, but Renfrow's going to be the one to keep those drives going and give Josh Jacobs a little bit, take his pressure off of him to have to get those 3-4 yards. Just throw a slant route to Hunter Renfrow. In standard, I'm not as high as I am on PPR because he's not going to be a red zone target, but he's going to get those catches. So in PPR, at the last couple picks, if you need a flyer, take it on Renfrow. You'll definitely be happy this year with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to kind of close that out, I really love Ruggs coming into the Raiders organization. We've talked about him a bunch of times here, articles on the show. It really does help Renfrow out the most, though. Like his presence on the field, being able to get deep into the secondary quickly, open up space underneath for a very accurate quarterback in Derek Carr, who threw 70% completion passing last year. So, yeah, I really like what they're doing there in Las Vegas. So, yeah, definitely go grab yourself some shares of Hunter Renfrow at the end of your draft. Who's the other one you had in the back end? So one of your big favorites here.
Yeah, this guy's one of my favorites. Steven Sims in Washington. When I wrote this article, everybody's like, "Oh, who's Steven Sims?"
I was like, "Who?"
If you watch Washington, he was the gadget player. Like, he replaced Chris Thompson as
some film.
That scat back, quick receiver. When I wrote this article, he was like buried on the depth chart, and then Kelvin Harmon tore his ACL. That
brought some life.
Yeah, brought some life to him. You start seeing when we're doing these mock drafts, Steven Sims is like popping up on the board somewhere. He wasn't drafted in the last one that we did, but he's still, one of those guys that you can get in the very few rounds or even free.
He's free. He is as free as the day is long, Steven Sims. We saw the 18-round draft. He wasn't drafted. In 20 to 22-round drafts, he's absolutely getting grabbed. Go ahead, sorry.
No, it's okay. The reason why Chris Thompson didn't really work out in Washington was because he was kind of injury prone.
Yeah, I was going to say he was always hurt, and if he was on the field, I loved him.
Yeah, but he was very small, and you could tell. Washington now has Antonio Gibson and Steven Sims. I just see it being a rotation. Yeah. Like, those guys, they don't need to be thrown on 9 routes down the field to get their yards. They're going to be given screens and across the field to let them use their speed and quickness in space to generate those yards, to get those huge plays downfield. I'm not as high on players coming into Washington due to there's a lot of things going on. I already mentioned it, but there's a lot of things going on. Steven Sims has NFL experience, okay? You cannot discount any kind of NFL experience.
He had 5 touchdowns last year.
He also returned a touchdown.
Yeah, it's
so
five touchdowns.
If you have one of your receivers on a bye week, and you have Steven Sims, he'd be a good one to stream in for that week because you know what, you might get that kick return. Okay, he is very quick, very fast. I love him. I'm definitely gonna be looking at him in those later rounds, or if I don't really feel that anybody's looking at him, I'm gonna just wait until free agency or waivers, and just take him.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can get him in free agency for free after the start of the season. You can get him in the last pick of any draft at this point right now. Looking at some of these numbers, it's pretty impressive. I mean, what was it? 43 total touches, 310 receiving yards, and 85 rushing yards on just 9 rushing attempts. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
and 5 total touchdowns on 43 total touches.
That's like 1 out of every 9.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
It's not bad.
That's electric to me.
Some of the things you mentioned, Antonio Gibson. I like Antonio Gibson. Big take it to the Hizzy flash take here. Antonio Gibson, next Matt Forte. You heard it here. Knocking on that take. I'm not going to back down from that. I think that Rivera can use him just the same way as you're describing Sims. And I agree with you that both of them are probably going to eat out of each other's workload. The reason why I see upside for both of them is the wide receiver room. Who is going to catch the ball on this team?
I mean, Terry McLaurin is definitely going to be the one that is going to be targeted the most, but he's going to be the one that's going to get his deep crossing routes.
Yeah, but who is after him? Like who is after
Trey Quinn?
Okay, it's like
everybody talk.
No one that exciting is the answer.
Yeah, Washington was talking Trey Quinn up so much last year.
They were,
and I was
really were
sitting there being like, I think he was the leading or like the all-time leader in receiving yards or something like that. It was some crazy stat in college, and he went to SMU, and they were like talking him up, and I'm just like looking at him, and I'm like, there's no way that he can last. He's a lot smaller than Renfro, to be honest, and you would see him make those nice crossing routes, but man, when he got hit, it was just like, oh man, like, is he gonna survive? He didn't survive. So, there's no one else in the room, to be honest.
Yeah, so Sims free at the back end of your drafts. Nick's really high on him. I'm kind of so. Going to wait and see. I'm definitely more higher on Antonio Gibson. So that's where I'm at on that between the two. And, of course, his name is getting drafted, probably within the mid-rounds, probably 4 or 5 rounds ahead of Sims right now. And that just comes from, being the new guy in town.
Yeah, shiny toy.
Exactly. The new shiny toy, new draft pick. Everybody's been watching tape over the summer like me, coming up with these crazy takes, next Matt Forte, etc. So, yeah, you can get Gibson about 4 or 5 rounds ahead of Sims, and Sims for free at the back end of your drafts last round or in free agency as the season begins. My next guy that I have in the back end of drafts, whose ADP just continues to fall year after year, is Sammy Watkins. I'm doing a lot of drafts where I'm going 0 wide receiver to start out, or doing 0 wide receiver. I don't know why I would call it any other way. Where I draft, let's say like Alvin Kamara, come back around with like a Travis Kelce, and then pop off 2 more running backs, and then I grab my first wide receiver and maybe like a Cooper Kupp, or some leagues I've gotten Keenan Allen in the 5th round. I don't know how that's possible, but in some mocks I've gotten Keenan Allen in the 5th, like in the first couple of picks. And then I'm sitting on wide receivers to the back end, and I'm grabbing guys like Sammy Watkins, Renfro, like you mentioned, Larry Fitzgerald, who's my next guy. But with Sammy Watkins, he's someone that's in a really good situation. One injury on that team for the Chiefs, and he's looking at an increased workload, right? I think that people are afraid of drafting him. You and I talked earlier about him taking pay cuts, talking about potentially not playing this year. Not even related to COVID. He was just literally thinking about taking a year off to
mentally.
Yeah, I think it's about preserving your career at this point. Like, I think a lot of people looked at what Lev Bell did and what he was able to accomplish, right? By taking a year off, still being able to come back and produce. People saw it in Jason Witten. We're seeing it with Rob Gronkowski this year. So it might just be a newer thing. Knock on wood for Andrew Luck coming back, for any of you people that really, really want Andrew Luck to come back. It's just kind of a growing thing. But with Sammy Watkins, he just plays on a really good team, and you're getting him for free at the back end of your drafts. I've got him as late as like the 15th and 16th round, and that's just too late in my opinion. I don't know how people can continue to disrespect him. Look at his Super Bowl performance. He was very involved in that comeback. Being down, 10 or 14 points. He was super involved. This is a guy that was there for them. I'm all about him in the back end of his drafts. His ADP continues to fall year after year. And most likely, I'm not going to go 0 running back. He's going to be a bench guy. And throwing Sammy Watkins on your bench, what's the risk in that?
Yeah.
What's the risk in that?
One of the guys that I'm actually really high on is T. Higgins.
Okay.
T. Higgins, he's going to Cincinnati. Not really exciting city, but you know what? They got the new quarterback, Joe Burrow, and T. Higgins was the pick right after him. Mm-hmm. John Ross is, I believe, not playing this year due to COVID, and so those two are basically the same person in a way. John Ross is a lot faster.
Deep threat.
Yeah, but T. Higgins is a deep threat as well. They're going to use him. I mean, the way I see it, why would you spend a second-round pick on a wide receiver that's just going to be sitting on your bench when really you're just going to let Joe Burrow throw the ball? Mm-hmm. So I think T. Higgins is going to be one of those guys that benefits from AJ Green still being there. He's still going to get those number 1 targets, but T. Higgins could catch those balls, when Green's being focused on. So
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
He's going to be a good one.
Absolutely. I think with his situation, having, Tyler Boyd ahead of him too, AJ Green, everyone wants Joe Mixon to catch more balls. He's just a free guy, right? T. Higgins isn't going to be somebody that I'm starting probably week 1 through 3. I don't necessarily see that happening. I could see, a Sammy Watkins or a Renfro potentially getting into my lineup in the first several weeks. If I need it, like if I just completely faded the, wide receiver position, I could definitely see that scenario happening.
You know who I'm not seeing any respects on their name is T.Y. Hilton. Terry McLaurin is being drafted in front of T.Y. Hilton, and I do not understand that at all.
Yeah, I don't necessarily get that either.
The Colts brought in Philip Rivers, who's a gunslinger, and all he does is just chuck the ball in the air. And T.Y. Hilton's the perfect receiver there.
I think it's the injury history. I think everyone gets worried about T.Y. Hilton just putting together 4 to 5 really good games and then just getting tossed for the season. Just the way he runs, he's a very powerful runner. He still does play on the outside, comes into the slot. Physical receiver, still goes across the middle, still tries to burn guys down the sideline. So they use him all over the field, and I think it's just kind of wearing on him. I think people are a little scared to take him. I would have him ahead of.
I would have him at least above McLaurin. To be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know we've seen some mock drafts where McLaurin's gone a round ahead of him, not just a few spots, but like rounds ahead of him. So. Getting back in, or just closing it out here with the last few guys that we have in the back end of our drafts. Larry Fitzgerald is someone that's going to be in a really good situation this year. I know the age is up there, but he still has all the talent and all the tangible skills to be at least a wide receiver 2 in fantasy football. I'm not going to say he's going to go out guns a-blazing in his potential last year on a team that's going to be looking to make a Super Bowl run. They look good on both sides of the ball, in my opinion, right now, the Cardinals, and they look like they've made the right moves to make a playoff run or at least compete in that division. Super tough division, up against the Niners and the Seahawks. So really looking forward to what they can put together this year. But bringing in Hopkins and having Christian Kirk there already, it just alleviates a lot of the pressure for Larry Fitzgerald. And I recognize he's lost a step. Some of the explosiveness isn't there, but all the efficiency is. Those hands haven't aged a day. I'm sorry.
Doesn't he have more tackles than drops in his NFL career?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's crazy. That's the wildest.
But he's a pure Hall of Famer wide receiver. Yep. This is what he is, and I think that these other options coming in, they're going to bring up his productivity. They're going to give him more chances. I see it specifically in the red zone, being able to close in on those last 15 to 10 yards.
He's the biggest receiver, I think, on the team, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, they might have a tight end or two that might be.
There's no tight end, actually. Max Williams, that's the tight end there. We talked about that.
Yeah, he's in size.
But he's not a receiving threat.
Yeah, exactly. They just don't use tight ends there.
It's a 4 wide.
Yeah, exactly. Up and down the field all day. Yeah. I definitely see Larry Fitzgerald getting more opportunities in the red zone this year. Again, these are guys that aren't going to be your starters, in your first several weeks to start the year. If I'm throwing Larry Fitzgerald on my bench, yeah, maybe I don't feel great about it because he lacks a little bit of upside. The speed isn't there, but I think as far as like bye weeks go and taking a chance on a guy at the end of your draft. Give me the Hall of Famer Larry Fitz. I love it. I love it.
You know who's a real sleeper now? Antonio Brown. He's got 8 weeks of sleeping.
He does. He does. I mean, he's another guy, the back end guys.
Got drafted in the 15th round of the last
draft. If you're drafting in the next several weeks, I don't recommend that. But
don't recommend that at all. I mean, you have to wait 8 weeks to actually get any kind of value out of him. So,
absolutely.
Definitely take Larry Fitzgerald before you take Antonio Brown. Just letting you know.
I could see a situation where
Larry Fitzgerald won't give you any value for 8 weeks.
Yeah, but if you let's say your receivers don't have buys until like week 9 or later. You know what I mean? Like you don't even have to plug out your starters if you pick the right guys.
Yeah.
And then Antonio Brown comes back after that point. This situation could work. You could make it work for yourself, but it all has to fall into place.
Yeah.
All right, last guy here, and we're going to wrap it up. I got Brandon Ayuk for the 49ers. I know that we were talking about them a little bit earlier. Ayuk in a good situation. Deebo Samuel's gone. They really don't have. And Emmanuel Sanders is gone. I'm sorry, with the Saints. Not really a ton of mouths to feed in the passing game other than George Kittle. I like Jalen Hurd. I like Ayuk. I think Ayuk has a little bit more. The wingspan is there.
Oh man,
the size is there. The speed is there. I think Jalen Hurd is just as it's like 1A and 1B. You can take your pick between the two. But we always seem to avert ourselves to the nice new shiny toy, right?
Yeah, I mean, even when he was, obviously I watched the NFL draft every year, since I was like 12 years old. And this year I was watching with my girlfriend, and even she was like, man, that guy's arms are really long. Like, he jumps off the page, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just going to be able to have that Larry Fitzgerald catch radius that, everybody's looking for in the receivers. Hopefully he can just put it together real quickly for his rookie season because he's going to be needed right away. So, that's definitely a good one to look at.
Yeah, I like the situation for him. I mean, obviously his workload and production could come down as the season goes on, as we get closer and closer to Samuel coming back, and he gets on the field. Obviously, there'll be more touches to get divvied up. I really see this Niners offense as just incomplete. I feel like they're missing something. I honestly feel like they could go out and sign, like a Taylor Gabriel. I know it's not a sexy grab, but it's just like it's just something, just a little bit more depth. A Devontae Freeman, I could see that. I could see even a Lamar Miller, Antonio Brown, dare I say, they need a receiving weapon. So I see them in a position to add somebody. Do they do it? We talked up Delaney Walker. We talked up Jordan Reed a little bit earlier in the show. I think there's some better weapons out there than that. Use Kittle, leverage him, and maybe go after an Antonio Brown who now looks like after his 8-game suspension has been set in place, people are back to courting him. The Seahawks.
But he has to be signed first.
That's what I'm saying. Like more and more teams are going to be looking to court him. The Seahawks, the Ravens, dare I say the 49ers, who look like they really need a wide receiver one. I see them as incomplete, so maybe the jury's still out. Yeah, I like Brandon Ayuk today. Do I like him on draft day? I'm not sure. But I do know, regardless, I can get him for free. That's just where he's at right now. All right, so that's it. That's today's show. This was Take It to the Hizzy, TITTH number 30. Really appreciate you guys stopping by and kicking it with us. Be sure to smash the like button, share the video, and we will see you next time. You got anything?
Nope, I'm good. See you guys.
All right, Take It to the Hizzy. We'll see you. Take care.
See you.